everyone, in this video I am beginning my coverage of Mike Carey's Lucifer series, which spins out of Sandman. Now, recently on my channel here I was covering the series Astro City, and I do want to return to that, but with the Season 2 of Sandman coming out on Netflix, I felt this would be a good time to finally cover some Lucifer, as it has been a highly requested series on my channel for years. Now, I've covered a lot of the DC Vertigo Dark universe books. So we have Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Hellblazer. I've covered that up to the end of Garth Ennis's run. And now here we have Lucifer. So if you want more of the dark side of the DC Vertigo universe, be sure to check out all those other series. But yeah, in this video, I am beginning the Lucifer coverage. I'm going to do a brief explainer on what happened with Lucifer in the Sandman books, and then we're going to dive right into his solo book here. Now, there is a Lucifer TV show out there. I watched a couple episodes. It's kind of a police procedural, which is very different than the comic. So I really think it is vastly different. So the comic is kind of doing its own thing. Now, I'm not a Lucifer expert. I'm actually reading this series as I cover it here, so seeing everything for the first time. But so far, I think it's pretty good, although it's kind of a difficult, complex read. But yeah, let's dive into it now. Lucifer Volume 1.
Lucifer, Devil in the Gateway, written by Mike Carey, art by James Hodgkins, Duncan, Fegredo, Chris Weston, and Scott Hampton. This book covers the Morningstar option storyline from The Sandman Presents Lucifer issues 1 to 3, a 6-card spread storyline from Lucifer issues 1 to 3, and Born with the Dead from Lucifer issue 4. Now, before I dive into Lucifer's solo series here, let me give you a quick refresher on what the deal with Lucifer is, as well as a brief recap of the history of Lucifer that we've seen in Neil Gaiman's Sandman comics. So, at the dawn of time, God created archangels responsible for creation. The 3 angels were Michael, Gabriel, and Samuel. Samuel would later become Lucifer. And a few characters actually still refer to Lucifer as Samuel sometimes. Lucifer was given the task to shape and form the universe, as his brother Michael brought forth the energy to form creation. However, Lucifer questioned the creator and whether he had the right to dictate the lives of others. Eventually, Lucifer full-on rebelled against the kingdom of heaven, and he was cast out. Cast out to a barren expanse known by many as Hell, the final destination for damned souls. Here, Lucifer Morningstar ruled. Through some various storylines in the 80s and Swamp Thing and other comics, there was a civil war in Hell, and Lucifer was forced to share his power, creating a triumvirate with Aziel and Beelzebub. However, Lucifer retained the majority of power. Years later in the Sandman comics, Dream of the Endless entered Hell, searching for his helm that had been stolen from him when he was imprisoned. After Dream recovered his helm and slighted Lucifer, Lucifer threatened to destroy Dream. Although Lucifer eventually moved on from that and eventually abandoned his lordship over Hell. Lucifer, he had ruled Hell for over 10 billion years. And over that time, he had manipulated various demons of Hell against each other, and provided a place for dead mortals to be tormented, and he led the war against heaven. However, at some point during his rule, he had become bored with existence. He became tired of all the stereotypes that mortals held of the devil, such as the idea that he purchased and traded for souls. That was largely untrue. He also resented the assumption that he caused the evils that humans did. He did not. In fact, he didn't have anything to do with the actions of mortals who ended up in Hell. He simply punished them. He became so tired of his reign over Hell, and he felt it unfair punishment that he be forced to rule there forever simply because he had once rebelled. When Dream visited Lucifer again, Lucifer expelled all demons and damned souls from Hell before locking Hell's gates and handing over the key to Dream of the Endless. Dream, he then had to decide what to do with Hell. Word spread fast, and various powerful entities from across the multiverse petitioned for Dream to give them control of Hell. Eventually, Dream handed over the keys to Hell to Heaven, specifically to two angels, Ramiel and Duma. And the two angels weren't really pleased. They, in a way, kind of saw it as a sort of punishment instead of an honor. Lucifer, he then returned to Earth to live a quiet life. He opened a piano bar in Los Angeles called The Lux. He runs it with the assistance of his demon female consort, Mazikeen. And that is essentially the status quo as we head into Lucifer's spin-off solo series. So now, heading over to that, we begin with The Sandman Presents Lucifer #1, The Morningstar option. We are introduced to the Bagai family. The father is named Frank, the daughter is Rachel, and the son is Paul. They are of Navajo descent. They are at a doctor's office, and the doctor is checking out Paul. Paul suffers from a rare genetic disorder called Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome causes severe cognitive, sensory, emotional, and motor impairments. Paul, he is confined to a wheelchair. He can't speak, and he can barely do anything. Paul's father and sister basically have to do everything for him. The doctor tells them that he doesn't see much improvement in Paul. Elsewhere in Los Angeles, California, we see Lucifer Morningstar in his bar, The Lux. There we see some of Lucifer's employees, such as a barmaid named Beatrice Welschler, as well as his demon assistant, Mazikeen. Mazikeen has a scar on the side of her face, which makes it hard for people to understand her when she speaks. In his bar, Lucifer is met by the angel Amenadiel. Amenadiel always resented Lucifer for rebelling against God's plan, but nevertheless, he is here now on business. Lucifer sits down at the table across from Amenadiel, and the two of them exchange words as they share a drink. Eventually, Amenadiel wants to make a point, so he holds the glass of brandy in his hands, and then with his powers he lights it on fire, and then he throws the flaming brandy onto the table in front of him. Lucifer calmly replies, "That's an 80-year-old brandy. If I knew you were going to waste it on melodrama, I'd have given you the 78. Amenadiel responds, "The world is on fire, Lucifer Morningstar. I wanted to make the point forcefully. Otherwise, we could squander the whole evening in stale repartee. I am to place a proposition before you, against my will, against my judgment, knowing you to be the king of liars and traitors. Say no right now and you will spare me considerable effort. There is a power at work on Earth which is granting human wishes." Amenadiel then hands Lucifer a book of various examples of wishes that have been granted by this power. Amenadiel, on behalf of heaven, wants Lucifer to deal with this. Lucifer asks, "Why me?" Amenadiel answers, "Because heaven wishes neither to intervene directly in this, nor to stand by and let it happen. You represent a third option. I am told that you will name your price." Lucifer, in exchange for dealing with this, asks for something called a letter of passage. That is his price. The letter of passage is a magical artifact. It is a divine permit allowed by God himself, and it will allow the bearer safe travel beyond the edges of the universe. So it seems like Lucifer and Amenadiel have come to an agreement. Amenadiel then questions, "Do you require anything else of me before I leave?" Lucifer responds, "Yes, I'd like an apology for the damage you caused to the table." Amenadiel eventually says back, "Then, in accordance with my instructions, which were to give you anything you asked for, I apologize, Lucifer Morningstar, for the damage to your table." Amenadiel then leaves. Lucifer then orders Mazikeen, "Mazikeen, tell the staff they can leave. We will not be opening this evening. Then light some candles, keep them lit from now on, and bring me a knife and a dove. Actually, a pigeon will do." Lucifer then with a knife carves the rune Memswaf, the rune of finding, into his hand, magically turning the knife into something called a lodestone, which is a tool that will guide him toward what he seeks. Then with the pigeon, Lucifer performs some sort of blood ritual, and he plucks a feather from that bird, and he has now borrowed the ability to fly, as Lucifer himself no longer has his angel wings. He had Dream of the Endless remove them when Lucifer was abandoning hell. As Lucifer plucks the feather from the bird, he says, "I'll just trouble you for a loan of these. I may need to fly before this business is done with, and I forfeited my own wings some time since." Lucifer then grabs his coat and heads out on his mission to stop this god that is granting people's wishes. We now jump back over to the Bagai house. Frank feeds Paul, and then he gets ready to go to work, but he tells his daughter to take care of Paul tonight while he is out. The daughter, Rachel, moves Paul into the bedroom and gets him set up, and then she invites some of her friends over, and they talk in the living room. Back over to Lucifer. He travels to an undescript warehouse. Inside, he is confronted by a demon named Mehu. Mehu is a little bit annoyed at Lucifer because ever since Lucifer abandoned hell, most of the demons were cast out and are now living in exile. Mehu confronts Lucifer and asks, "What do you want here?" Lucifer answers, "Information. I have an occasional arrangement with your master, which he may have mentioned to you." Lucifer then goes upstairs to talk to Mehu's master, a demon named Brydak the Blind. Brydak obtained the curse of clairvoyance. He has the ability to see the seed and the rot of anything, the beginning and the end of whatever he desires. In exchange for this, though, he was cursed with blindness, bad health, and a lack of mobility. Since this moment, he became the sort of leader of the demons in exile in their quest to retain their rightful place in hell. Lucifer, he wants some information that will lead to this deity that is granting wishes. In exchange, Brydak wants some of this healing water that Lucifer has, called Leith water. Lucifer pours some of this Leith water into a cup and places it by Brydak. Lucifer explains he wants to know about the birth and the death of a desire satisfied in the moment it's conceived. In other words, a wish. Brydak, he uses his clairvoyance and he says, "In North Hollywood, there's a man named Paul Burgai. A man in years. I mean, not in any other sense." Brydak, he then sips the special water. Lucifer asks, "Why him?" Brydak answers, "Because the power lingers around him. It winds over and through him." Lucifer, he then leaves, having finished business here. Back over at the Bagai house, Rachel is talking with her friends while her brother Paul is in his bedroom. Paul, he spazzes out a bit and he knocks the lamp from his bedside table onto the floor. Rachel runs into her brother's room to check on him. Inside the bedroom, she finds Paul covered in his puke and the lamp broken on the floor. Rachel, frustrated, yells out, "Ah, you little rat bag! You threw up all down the bed and the lamp. Ugh, Dad's gonna kill me." And it had to frickin' shatter into a million pieces. It couldn't just break in two, could it? As Rachel bends down to try to pick up the lamp, Paul reaches out and grabs Rachel in his puke-covered hands, and it gets all into Rachel's hair. Rachel, disgusted, says, "Ah, for God's sake, you dirty little bastard. Why don't you just choke?" And then, almost like that was a wish, Paul begins to choke on the vomit in his mouth. Rachel, now concerned, says, "Paul, are you okay? Paul? Paul then seemingly dies. Rachel, she then says, "Oh my God, Paul, please, don't do this to me. Breathe, please breathe." And then all of a sudden, Lucifer just appears in the bedroom beside Rachel and Paul. Lucifer says, "Excuse me, I'd like to examine him." Rachel, confused, asks, "What? Who are you? What are you doing?" Lucifer, looking at Paul, says, "Curious. This was a more complex transaction than I thought. An exchange, a two-way flow. Power was expended here, but power was generated too. A velleity. Some moron has created a velleity." By the way, the definition of a velleity is a wish or inclination not strong enough to lead to action. So a velleity is kind of like a wish that you aren't really working to make come true. So in this case, Rachel wished for her brother to be dead, although she didn't really want that to happen, but she did in a way wish it. Rachel asks, listen, are you some kind of doctor? Are you gonna resuscitate him? Lucifer, ignoring that question, talks out aloud. But he said that the power lingered here. Lucifer then asks Rachel, could he talk, your brother? Rachel answers, no, he just made noises, you know. Lucifer, talking aloud, says, then perhaps the power is drawn to silence. Perhaps it hovered over him long enough to sense your desire. Rachel asks, my what? Lucifer answers, your desire, when you wished him dead. Rachel, surprised, says, when I what? Are you crazy? I didn't want this to happen. Lucifer answers, of course you did. Rachel yells, you cold bastard, he's my brother, go to hell. Go straight to hell. Lucifer responds, yes, I've been hoping to avoid that, but you're right. There's no getting around it, is there? Lucifer, he then disappears. Rachel, she yells, hey, where are you? Where did you go? And then she holds her brother Paul in her arms and says, oh God. Lucifer, he then appears outside the gates of hell, and he says to himself, home again, jiggity jig. The Sandman presents Lucifer, Issue 2, The Morningstar Option, Part 2 of 3. As Lucifer walks through hell, there is a man getting his intestines ripped out by demons. The man seeing Lucifer says, it's him, it's Lord Lucifer. The demons respond, bollocks, that treacherous bastard wouldn't dare show his face around here. Lucifer, he walks right up to the angel in charge of hell right now, Remiel. Lucifer announces his arrival saying, little pig, let me in. Remiel, running out, says, hey, this is no longer your domain, Lucifer. You have no right of entry here. No right to walk on this ground without our leave. Lucifer casually responds, in my day, we took in anyone who happened by. That's part of the point, isn't it? Remiel, he still rejects Lucifer being here, but Lucifer whispers close to Remiel, Remiel, how many demons stand behind us? I reckon at least a third of the infernal host. If you don't let me come inside, I'll humiliate you so badly that your prestige here, which I imagine is also at a delicate stage, will catch cold and die. Remiel, he thinks on it, and he eventually allows Lucifer to enter. Back over to Rachel Bagai. Rachel is crying over the loss of her brother Paul, and she's also worried she's going to get in trouble. Her friends are trying to comfort her. They debate if they should phone the cops. Rachel says, we can't. My dad's going to kill me for this. Paul's dead and I was having a party. Eventually they hear a knock on the door. Only it is not the cops. It is instead the demon we met last issue named Mehu, who works for Brydak the Blind. Mehu is trying a little power play. He sees Rachel there and points her out and says, that one, take her. Meanwhile, back down in hell, Lucifer talks with the other angel in charge, Duma. Lucifer, he pontificates of the history of some of the early gods on Earth, and how this leads to this velleity that is out there now. Lucifer reflects nostalgically on a time on Earth before humans developed speech. During that time, humans, the poor naked half-men, were scared of their own shadows. They made the best gods they could, but they had no language to give shape to their imaginings. So the first gods on Earth were the thin gray shadows without form and without speech, dredged into being by the dumb longings of their worshippers. For 300,000 years on Earth, the shadow things were the only pantheon of gods there was. They were referred to as the voiceless gods. But then eventually, as the humans developed speech, and more concrete gods emerged, gods with names and personalities, the silent gods were forgotten. Still though, these forgotten gods persist, sustained by vague or misdirected prayers, like when someone says, "Thank God," without knowing who they mean. Lucifer then says, and now there's a power loose on the earth that manifests itself in silence that seems drawn to silence. Velleity. I recognized it because I made one myself once when I had less patience and less foresight. But this one belongs to them, the voiceless ones. It's dangerous magic, Duma. It grants wishes and accumulates power from the wisher's feeling of gratitude or guilt. It gets bigger all the time. The spell must be unwoven before it devours the world. Please, tell me where I have to go to find them. Duma, who does not speak, answers by just pointing down. Lucifer asks, how far down? Duma holds up 4 fingers and continues pointing down. Lucifer thanks him. Meanwhile, back on Earth in the Bagai household, the police are there asking questions to the father. His son Paul is dead and his daughter Rachel has been taken. Later on, back on Earth, Lucifer goes to a payphone and makes a phone call. He phones a man named Pheromond, aka Mr. Feral, who is a character we met in the Sandman comics. Pheromond runs a travel agency for both worldly and otherworldly beings. Lucifer is phoning because he wishes to arrange some transportation, but his phone call gets cut short. The demon Mehu confronts Lucifer. Mehu begins by insulting Lucifer, saying, I'm disappointed in you. The great revolutionary turned into heaven's handmaid. I respected you. I didn't like you, but I respected you. But now? Pwah! Tell me, collaborator, this great weaving, this velleity, what will it do for us? Lucifer answers, why, it will make your dreams come true, Mehu, ugly as that sounds. Mehu is interested. He replies, my dreams are irrelevant. I claim this magic for the armies of the demons in exile. Give it to me, and you can have the girl back unharmed. Lucifer doesn't care about the girl. In fact, he's confused. He asks, what girl would that be? Mehu answers, the half-caste, Rachel Bagai. I followed you there, Lucifer, to her home. I know everywhere you went and everything you did. Lucifer responds, then how could you have missed the point so spectacularly? The girl's of no importance. Oh, some slight spark of power perhaps, but in herself, nothing. Lucifer then thinks on it some more though and says, still, there are synchronicities operating here. Perhaps, yes. Mehu asks, then you agree to my terms? Lucifer answers, of course not. But I will have the girl. Lucifer then quickly blinds the 2 guards backing Mehu up, and then Lucifer pulls out that feather from the pigeon he plucked earlier, and he uses that to sprout wings on his back. He then grabs Mehu and flies up high into the sky. The demon says to Lucifer, you think a fall will kill me? Go ahead. I curse you, Lucifer. I spit on you. Lucifer threatens, oh, I'm not going to drop you. I'm going to get a bit more height and a bit more speed, and then I'm going to throw you straight up. You'll orbit the Earth as a little frozen moon. Re-entry will kill you, but not for a very long time. Where is she? The demon answers, there's a cab behind the bus station. She's in the trunk. May foulness and decay attend you, whoreson bastard. Lucifer then chucks Mehu aside. As Mehu falls, he yells, Lucifer, I'll kill you! Later on, Lucifer retrieves Rachel and brings her back to his bar. While in the bar, Lucifer's assistant, Mazikeen, gets possessed by the velleity. Lucifer, he senses this. The velleity, through Mazikeen, gives Lucifer a message. In blood on a mirror behind the bar, Mazikeen writes, relent. When Lucifer sees this, he responds, a message written in blood? Everyone involved in this drama seems compelled to overact. Mazikeen's eye then looks at the mirror and creates some sort of trippy, spirally reflection. And that manages to suck Lucifer and Rachel into something called a reality trap. When Rachel asks where they are, Lucifer explains that they are in a reflection of a reflection. More specifically, the reflection of Mazikeen's eye onto the surface of the bar mirror. A reality trap. Rachel is confused. She says that doesn't make any sense. Lucifer answers, be quiet, child, and let me think. Lucifer thinks for a while, and then he begins touching some of the blood inside this reality trap, and he says, This is Mazakine's blood. We'll just have to hope it knows its way home. Lucifer, he touches the blood and draws a kind of door inside this world they're in. Lucifer and Rachel go through the door, and then they are back in the real world, back at the Lux bar. Mazakine is still spaced out, possessed by this being. Rachel asks, "Are we gonna get a doctor for your friend?" Lucifer answers, "A doctor can't help her. If we succeed in our mission, she'll recover." Rachel, confused, asks, "Our mission? Since when did I have a mission?" Lucifer answers, "Do you want your brother back? If you stay with me, you will have one chance to make him live again." Later on, Lucifer and Rachel visit Pheromond, the otherworldly travel agent. Lucifer explains he wants passage and a guide to a place called the First World. Pheromond responds, "Such journeys are always at least partly shamanistic. It's hard, therefore, to guarantee success or even survival." And then, of course, there's the matter of payment. Lucifer then hands over a sack of 240 copper coins of some sort of currency. He says, "You may wish to count them, although to do so will limit their usefulness." Pheromond replies, "There is trust between us, Morningstar. I do not need to count them." Pheromond then asks Rachel, "You are a Navajo, yes?" Rachel answers, "Well, part Navajo, my dad is." Lucifer jumps in and says, "Her father is born to the Feather Clan, and born for the many Hogan's clan. Her mother is not of the Dinah. Why do you ask?" Pheromond tells them to go to a place called Tsudzil, which is the Navajo name for a mountain called Mount Taylor, located in northwestern New Mexico. As Rachel and Lucifer leave Pheromond's place, a car is waiting for them, and a flight to New Mexico has been booked. Rachel asks Lucifer, why are they going there? Her brother wasn't in New Mexico when he died. Lucifer answers, "You really have no knowledge of your own heritage at all, do you?" "Never mind. We're on heaven's business, girl. The one job that can't be left to the regular staff. We're going to go kill some gods." Sandman presents Lucifer Issue 3, the Morningstar Option, Part 3 of 3. After some traveling, Lucifer and Rachel arrive in New Mexico at Tsudzil, or Mount Taylor, or Mount Turquoise, whatever name you want to go with. They begin traveling up the mountain. Rachel, thanks to her Navajo roots as well as various members in her family, she actually has some shamanistic blood in her, so she will be essential for what Lucifer is trying to do. As they journey up the mountain, they meet a figure known as the Blue Flint Girl. She is a Navajo shamanistic spirit, and she will serve as a guide for Rachel. She appears as an elderly woman offering ancient wisdom. When the elderly woman sees Lucifer and Rachel, she says, "Ah, you're here at last. You must be tired. Sit and eat with me." Lucifer to this says, "Actually, Mother of Whirlwinds, our business is fairly pressing. We'd like to go straight through." The elderly woman responds, "Be quiet. I was speaking to my granddaughter." Rachel is confused. She asks, "Who, me?" The old woman continues, "Come down here, child. Sit with me on the ground. I want to talk to you." The old woman questions why Rachel seems to be in such pain. Rachel explains, "Yeah, everything's pretty messed up right now. I did something terrible and I'm trying to make it okay again, and Lucifer's helping me." The old woman offers Rachel some food, cooked corn pancakes in bear's grease. The old woman tells Lucifer, "I haven't made enough pancakes for you. Go fill this jug with water and I'll make some more." Lucifer, he leaves to go do so. When Rachel and the old woman are alone, she asks if Rachel likes the pancakes. Rachel answers, They're the worst thing I've ever tasted in my whole life." The old woman then continues, "Granddaughter, he is not helping you, be sure of that. He has his own reasons for everything he does." Rachel responds, "But he said if I came with him, I'd get my brother back." The old woman replies, "That is not what he said. The crying of your own spirit made you deaf to his words, and now he has walked in your footprints to this holy place." Rachel defends Lucifer, explaining that there's no way she would have got here without him. Lucifer finally returns with a jug of water. He tells the old woman, "If you're really gonna make me eat those things, go light on the bear's grease, okay?" The old woman responds, "There's no time to fill your stomach, Lucifer. I thought you were in a hurry." The old woman then gives Rachel a gift, something called a jish. The old woman explains, "It's a medicine pouch. It will take you where you have to go, and it will bring you back." Lucifer asks the old woman, "Mother of whirlwinds, I was promised a guide." The old woman, pointing to Rachel, says, "And so, now you have one." Lucifer responds, "The girl? How can she guide me when she doesn't know the way herself? This is absurd." The old woman tells Rachel to open the pouch. Inside, there is a white bead, a yellow seed, a blue feather, and a black stone. One charm for each world you'll pass through, all the way down to the first. When the bag is empty, the journey is over. Rachel thanks the old woman, and she asks if she's ever going to see her brother Paul again. The old woman answers, "Sometimes the truth is falser than any lie. I can't answer those questions. When this is over, go to your grandfather. Ask him to sing a blessing way for you." Rachel and Lucifer then continue their shamanistic journey up the mountain. Rachel comments, "This is getting too weird for me. How come that old woman knows me? And how come she's met my granddad?" Lucifer answers, "She knows all, even the half-breeds, and a strong shaman will sometimes get to meet her face to face." Lucifer then tells Rachel, "After you." Rachel's a little confused. She doesn't know where to go. Lucifer tells her, "You're my guide, aren't you? Then guide me." Rachel's still not sure of things, says, "Look, I don't know shit about this. None of this is real, is it?" Lucifer answers, "It's the journey of the spirit to the place it never left. Wise men spend more years than you've lived preparing for it. But there you go. There's never a wise man around when you need one. You'll just have to improvise." Their spirit journey then begins getting really trippy. The ground is white and there are dead fish skeletons, and they start talking to Rachel. Rachel asks, "What the hell is this?" Lucifer answers, "It's the fourth world, the salt waste left by the flood where no seed grows. As for the fish, they're speaking to you, not me, so I can't comment on that." Rachel, she looks in her bag, and she says, "Alright, if this is a spirit journey, everything's gonna turn out to be some hokey symbol. Like this is a barren land where seeds don't grow, well, I just so happen to have a seed right here in this pouch." Rachel takes the seed and throws it in the air and says, "Alright, let's make the desert bloom, why don't we?" As the seed flies in the air, all of a sudden there's like a pool of water up above. At first, the water stays floating above them, but then it comes crashing down on them, and they are submerged in the water. Rachel begins holding her breath. She is worried. She says, "Lucifer, I can't swim. I'm gonna drown." Lucifer tells her, "The water is only symbolic. Try breathing, you'll be amazed how much more comfortable you find it." So Rachel, she begins breathing under this trippy shamanistic water. Lucifer explains they're now in the third world beneath the flood. Rachel says, "Look, a lot of this stuff is going over my head here." As they continue walking onward, Rachel then gets greeted by a figure that claims to be her brother. Rachel runs over to her brother and hugs him. But the creature that claimed to be her brother shifts its shape into that of a monster. The creature then taunts, "I am the Great Stone. If you struggle, it will be better for me, worse for you." Rachel calls out to Lucifer for help. Lucifer turns back, uses some magic, and causes the creature to fully turn to stone and freeze. Lucifer then ushers Rachel over to him, and he points down into a chasm below. He says, "This gulf is the second world, and at the bottom is the first world. We can't go any further unless you can find us a way down." Rachel looks through the pouch the elderly woman gave her, and she pulls out a feather, and she figures maybe they can use this to get down somehow. The rock face they are on then breaks, and they begin falling down the gulf below, but the feather slows their fall, and they land on the bottom safely. Once they are on the bottom, Rachel asks, "Is this the place, the first world? Where are these voiceless gods?" As the two of them look around, they look up, and they see a weird floating thing in the sky. Lucifer says, "The Velleity. They wove it out of their own bodies. They're not tool users, but Let's see how strong their weaving is. Lucifer attempts to stab the floating creature with his knife. The Velleity then attempts to burn Lucifer and Rachel. Lucifer, he stands there, unharmed, and says, "Did you think fire would burn me? I am the Lightbringer, the Shepherd of Suns." The Velleity then speaks and says, "You cannot hurt us in our own place of power. The faith of humankind is grounded through us. We can move mountains now. We will not give up this strength, this clarity, this sweetness. We had forgotten what it was like to be worshipped. If you are the bringer of light, let us see what the dark can do." All of a sudden, it gets darker, and there begins to be an awful smell, and some gray creatures begin closing in. Lucifer tells Rachel the noise attracts them, that and the smell of living things. They are coming to eat us. Rachel worried, says, Jesus Christ, this can't be real." The Velleity then speaks, "That is for us to say because your reality belongs to us now. You may pray to us if you want to. We would like that." Lucifer then tells Rachel, "What do you say, Rachel? A quick prayer before bedtime? You can't say they're not delivering the goods. You want someone murdered? Bang, all you have to do is ask." Rachel says she's not a murderer. Lucifer says, "Of course you are. Apologies change nothing. Guilt changes nothing. You are what they made you." Rachel, she then curses this Velleity in the sky and says, "You bastards! Slimy, twisting little bastards. I'd rather die than pray to you. I hate you. You killed my brother." Lucifer then tells her to go ahead and make a wish. Rachel begins swearing and she says, "Just fucking die!" She yells this at the creature in the sky. But Rachel's wish is granted, and the creature is gone and dies. Lucifer tells Rachel, "All right, that's that. I think it's time to go home." Rachel's confused. She asks, "What? I don't get it. Where did it go? What happened?" Lucifer answers, "You happened. The Velleity was designed to satisfy desire. It's a commodity I'm short on, but yours did well enough. When you wished it gone, it had no choice but to destroy itself." Rachel asks, "Wait a minute. That was the thing that was granting wishes, right? And now it's gone, so how do I get my brother Paul back?" Lucifer replies, "You don't. It's too late now." Rachel, angry, says, "But you said..." Lucifer cuts her off and says, "I said I'd give you an opportunity to get your brother back, not step-by-step instructions." Rachel, angry, says, "You tricked me. You lied to me." Lucifer responds, "Perhaps, but if you really wanted your brother back, it would have happened. I suspect that what you actually wanted was an excuse to forgive yourself." Lucifer, he then takes off, leaving Rachel to find her own way home. Rachel yells, "I'll find you someday. I will. I mean it. When I'm strong enough to take you on." Lucifer, not worried, says, "It's a pity you managed to keep your head above the melodrama until now. Goodbye, Rachel." So, just to recap what happened here, because it's a little confusing, I think. Lucifer was tasked with killing these voiceless gods that were granting wishes. And he could only do so by teaming up with a shaman, which Rachel, thanks to her Navajo and family roots, in a way sort of is. So they traveled to this weird, crazy place, and Lucifer manipulated Rachel into wishing these gods to be destroyed, thereby completing his task. Rachel could have wished for her brother to instead be brought back to life if she thought of it. But Lucifer wasn't going to help her out that much and tell her that directly. In the aftermath of these events, Lucifer returns back to his bar, the Lux. There he meets the angel Amenadiel that originally made the deal with him. Lucifer completed what he was tasked to do, so Amenadiel grants Lucifer the letter of passage he requested. Amenadiel chastises Lucifer, though, saying, "You took advantage of her innocence and her grief. You have damaged her. You may have even destroyed her." Lucifer to this argues, "There's a whole shelf load of Christian commentaries about how good suffering is for the soul. Have you read them? They're great fun." When Amenadiel leaves, Lucifer talks with his assistant, Mazakeen, a bit, and then he goes and plays the piano. And Rachel, she continues on her journey home. So that was a 3-issue Lucifer miniseries, but now we begin with the first issue of the proper Lucifer solo series with Lucifer issue 1. This storyline is called a 6-card spread, part 1 of 3. From the last story arc, Lucifer now has this letter of passage, but he is skeptical if God actually gave him a legitimate letter of passage. Because of this, he is a little worried about using it. Lucifer says to his assistant, Mazikeen, "He gave me this to rid himself of a minor nuisance. He gave me an object of inconceivable power. The letter seems genuine, but if it were me, I'd have made sure it could never be used." So due to Lucifer's skepticism, he has traveled to Hamburg, Germany. He is here to meet an angel named Milios. Milios has access to a magical tarot deck that can tell the future. It can tell someone's destiny. Lucifer wants a 6-card spread tarot reading so he can know if the letter of passage is safe for him to use or not. Milios, aka Mr. Weiss, is an angel who lives on Earth in Germany. He has actually lived on Earth for millennia in an attempt to understand humans better. Milios always had a great interest in art. He desired to encompass reality within his art, and for this, he convinced Destiny of the Endless to let him see Destiny's Book of Souls. With this knowledge, Milios crafted tarot cards of the Basinos. Once he created the cards, he instantly trapped them within a box, as the tarot cards were alive with their own malicious intentions. Milios then tasked himself to take care of them and never release them, as he could not find it within himself to destroy his own art. We see Milios in the current day now, in Germany, in his bookstore that he operates there. Milios' employee, Carl, comes over to give Milios some books that arrived. As Milios looks through his books, some of the spirits of the tarot cards, such as the wolf and the man and the blind woman who holds a whip, speak with Milios, and they warn him that Lucifer is coming. Lucifer tells the spirits, "Very well, so he's coming. Should I run and hide? Do you think I'm afraid of Lucifer?" As Milios talks with the spirits and puts away his books, his employee Carl continues working away. They are soon visited by a man that works a few stores down from them, named Jayesh Deva. Jayesh works for his father, Rupinder, who owns a variety store. Jayesh speaks with Carl. Jayesh is gay and he suspects that Carl is as well, and Jayesh wishes to ask Carl out on a date, but he is nervous to do so. Jayesh and Carl exchange some pleasantries, but Jayesh does not end up making his move. Eventually, Jayesh leaves, and Milios tells Carl that he's expecting some visitors. So he tells Carl that he can go home, and Milios then closes up the shop. Jayesh returns to his father Rupinder's variety store, and as he arrives, some men have just stolen some things and run out. Rupinder is upset, and he blames his son for not manning the store properly. A few minutes later, Jayesh goes upstairs to a woman named Jill Peterson. Jill goes by the stage name Jill Presto. She works at a cabaret club. She has a magic act she does with a man named Hugo Merville. Jill is Hugo's assistant. Jill, she lives in this apartment. She is renting a room from Jayesh's father. Jayesh and Jill talk. The two of them are friends. Jill talks about her act. Jayesh comments how it's silly that Jill pads her bra, but Jill says she has to, as a lot of men have a tit fixation. Jill then asks if Jayesh finally asked Carl out. Jayesh answers, "I almost did, but I chickened out. I mean, what if he says no? He just works 2 doors away, and I'm in and out of the shop all the time. It could get pretty uncomfortable." Outside, we see Lucifer walking the streets of Germany there. As he walks through the red light district, he gets propositioned by a prostitute. Lucifer, seemingly annoyed by the prostitute, blows her off by saying, "Go home now, Sigrid Mahler, and you may be in time for your father's funeral." The prostitute, shocked that Lucifer knows her name and so much about her, says, "What? Oh my God. Oh, Papa. Oh God, forgive me." Lucifer then walks on and eventually arrives at Melios's bookstore. Inside the bookstore, the spirits from the magical tarot deck are still bothering and talking with Melios. When Lucifer arrives, though, the spirits disappear. Melios greets Lucifer saying, "Good afternoon. Was it something specific you were looking for, or would you like to browse?" Lucifer responds, "Hello, Melios. No, thank you. I'm not looking for a book. To tell you the truth, I'm more in the mood for a game of cards." Lucifer, he wants a tarot reading so he can learn his destiny with regards to the letter of passage. Meanwhile, out on the street, Jill Presto is walking around and she runs into Mazikeen and accidentally bumps into her. Jill gathers her things and recomposes herself. And then she notices Mazikeen's mask and she says, "Oh, cool mask. Where are you playing at?" She assumes that Mazikeen is a performer in town. Jill continues, "I'm in a cabaret club myself, part of a magic act. Hence the handcuffs. I'm not into BDSM or anything. Although not that there's anything wrong with smacking a guy around if he's up for it, you know?" Anyway, Jill gives Mazikeen her business card and tells her to come check out the show if she wants. Back inside Melios's bookshop, Lucifer walks around and admires some of the books. Melios has quite the book collection. Lucifer explains he wants a 6-card spread reading from Melios's tarot deck that he built. Melios is apprehensive. He doesn't want to open the deck. Lucifer holds up his letter of passage, and he wants to consult the deck about it. Melios begs Lucifer, saying, "Lucifer, I can't let you consult them. I don't know what the deck is capable of. I don't trust it anymore." Lucifer threatens Melios, "Look around you. Your whole life is flammable. Saying no to me is an option you just don't have." Lucifer is basically threatening to burn down all these books that Melios has collected over the millennia. Melios responds, "Yes, I see. Well, I can't just fetch the deck. It needs to be woken to be prepared." Lucifer, he leaves the store and says, "You have until tonight. I'll come at sunset. Understand me, Melios. I will have this divination. If the cards are unavailable, I'll just have to use your entrails." Later on that night, elsewhere in town, we see the boy Carl, the one that works in Melios's shop. He is hanging out with some Nazis who are beating up a foreigner. Whoever these Nazis are, Carl seems to want to be a member of their group, but he currently hasn't fully proven himself to them. Carl talks with the Nazi leader there, named Gunther. Gunther explains that if Carl wants to be a part of their crew, he has to go through a little initiation process, which will involve beating the shit out of somebody that we don't like. Gunther asks, "So tell me, who don't we like?" Carl answers, "Jews, Turks, Packies, lefties, queers." Gunther tells Carl, "Yeah, you gotta look out for those queers, Carl. Good-looking boy like you." After this conversation ends, Carl begins to contemplate how he can prove himself to these people. Over at the cabaret club, we see Jill has finally arrived. She talks to some of her coworker friends, and then she practices her act with her partner, Hugo. Hugo criticizes her sloppy stage work. Back at Melios's bookstore, he goes down into the basement. We see how big and deep the basement is. It seems to go down many levels. And there are so many books here and ancient artifacts. Finally, as Melios reaches the bottom, he enters a final chamber. Inside, there is a chest. Melios, he opens the chest, and inside that chest is the deck of tarot cards, the Basinos. Melios holds the deck in his hands. The spirits from within the deck then surround Melios, and the deck of cards then attacks him. The cards fly in the air, and they cut Milios down. Milios, he falls to the ground, unconscious, bleeding out. Lucifer, seemingly sensing this from elsewhere in the city, says, "Oh, Milios, how far did you think you'd get on guilt and good intentions? You've let your rabid little children off the leash, and all bloody hell is out for noon." Lucifer Issue 2, 6-card spread, Part 2 of 3. The magical tarot cards seem to be flying throughout the city. Back inside Milios' basement, he is alive, but crawling from the injuries he sustained. He even has a scar on his face, burns like a brand. We see a flashback now to many, many years ago, to back when Lucifer and Milios were angels up in heaven. Milios is working on his art on the tarot cards, and Lucifer tells him, "You're incredible. You're afraid to fight with us, but you beard the endless in pursuit of your art? One day this obsession will destroy you." Milios responds, "You misunderstand me. My passion is for the subjects which I explore, for living minds. Destiny's book is the ultimate chronicle of what we have thought and said and done, and these cards I make will have the same workmanship, the same affinities. Think about it, Morningstar. You might read your enemy's mind by consulting this deck, or your own, for that matter." Back in the current day, Carl is at a tattoo parlor, and he wants to get a Nazi tattoo on his arm. After he gets the tattoo, one of the tarot card spirits, that of the Emperor, starts influencing Carl. He encourages Carl to commit a salacious act that will ingratiate Carl with the rest of the Nazis like Gunther. Elsewhere across the city of Hamburg, we see the tarot card spirits influencing many others. Lucifer finds Mazikeen in a park, sharpening a knife. He says to Mazikeen that they need to find the cards before they can fight them, and we need to approach them on their blind side, or they'll get skittish and run. Lucifer then wants to do some sort of ritual that will help them. He says, "I need you to bleed on these leaves as I have done. I watched Milios design the cards. The basinos is an exquisite piece of work, but no making is perfect. If we cast our blood on the wind, they'll see shadows of us everywhere. The very sharpness of their sight is a weakness we can exploit." So Mazikeen, she, with a knife, cuts her hand and bleeds on the leaves, and then Lucifer spreads the leaves into the wind. So while Lucifer is preparing for this oncoming battle, various side plots are still continuing to develop. Jill is at the cabaret club talking to her coworkers. Her partner, Hugo, is hearing whispers from one of the other tarot card spirits. Jill's boss at the club is cheating on his wife with a young worker there, and Jill gives him a hard time over it. Meanwhile, back over at Rupinder's store, Rupinder sees Carl and knows his Nazi affiliation, and he doesn't want trouble to be started in the store. When Jayesh enters the store, Rupinder tells Jayesh to deal with the Nazi. So Jayesh goes down the aisle, and he begins by saying, "Listen, friend, my dad's already called the police, so if you don't mind." But then Jayesh realizes that it's Carl and not some other random guy. Carl is in the store because he wants some ointment for his tattoo. Despite Carl being a Nazi and Jayesh being a foreigner whose Carl is sworn to hate, Jayesh still helps Carl out. Jayesh gives Carl the antiseptic ointment he needs. And even though despite who Carl is, Jayesh still has a crush on him and decides, you know what? He's finally going to ask him out. He says, "Hey Carl, look, I was wondering if, if you'd like to come out for a drink with me later?" Carl thinks on it for a moment and says, "After a day like this, sure, a drink. Why not?" "Listen, Jayesh, I've got friends that would literally kill me if they see us together. So, meet me at the back of the door of the shop at 10, not on the street." The thing that is complex about this Carl character is that he's trying to be a Nazi and ingratiate himself with the Nazis, but he's actually kind of a closeted homosexual, and he just can't admit to himself that that's who he is. And in fact, his desire to be this tough Nazi, is actually kind of a desperate measure for him to suppress his queer tendencies. Back over at Melios's bookshop, Melios has finally made his way back up to the ground floor, and Lucifer is standing there waiting. He says, "Good evening, Melios. I was beginning to wonder if you'd make it. Those last 20 flights nearly finished you. Did the Bassinos do that to your face?" Melios answers, "We fought. They broke my concentration and then struck me down, and now I can't heal the wound. Lucifer, they're free. They've escaped from me." Lucifer responds, "I know. That's why I'm here. And you thought you could trap them again in the same box? Don't you know the proverb about worms and cans? What should I do with you, Melios? I needed something quick, but unforgettable, and you disobeyed me. That's the issue as I see it. All I wanted was a simple 6-card spread, and then I would have gone. It would have been a painless, comparatively." Melios, defeated, says, "But what if they overpowered you? They might have." Lucifer calls Melios a fool. Melios, speaking aloud, says, "I've saved every word that humankind has ever written, whether on stone or slate or paper, and not content with that, I thought to record their thoughts as well. That's why I brought the cards here. That's why I let them catch the scent of humanity. I'm worse than a fool." Lucifer to this says, "I suppose it's because we don't breed that we put so much of ourselves into our tools. From one point of view, you've already punished yourself enough. So don't see this as a punishment. See it as an honest critique of your little project here." Lucifer, he then leaves the bookstore, but he somehow, through his magic, destroys all of the many books that Melios has collected over his lifetime. Once Lucifer is gone, Melios checks out his various books, and he sees all the ink has been smeared from their pages and has melted off. This is Lucifer's punishment to Melios for Melios not doing what Lucifer asked. Melios, looking at his various books, says, No, please don't. Morningstar, this is too cruel, even for you." Melios, he drops down to his knees as he looks through the ink smears in his various books, and he screams out, his life's work has been destroyed. Melios almost considers the books in the store the bodies of his children, and to mourn them all will take a lifetime. Elsewhere in the city, Jayesh goes to meet Carl at the back of the store. When Carl arrives, he is there with his Nazi pals, and they all start beating Jayesh up. When Jayesh is bloodied on the street, Gunter gives Carl a broken bottle of glass and tells Carl to stab Jayesh with it. After Carl does, Gunter tells him, "You're one of us now." Back at the Cabaret Club, Jill Presto is preparing for her performance tonight. While in the bathroom getting ready, she gets visited by one of the tarot card spirits, that of the Innocence card, exemplified by a little girl. Jill tells the little girl, "Hey, aren't you a little young to be in here?" The little girl responds, "Oh, don't worry. I'm here with friends. We're coming to see your act tonight. We're really looking forward to it." Jill responds, "Well, that's very flattering, kiddo, but the needle's eye is adults only." "God, I can't believe you know my stuff." The little girl responds, "We know everything about you, Jill. You see, we've sort of been auditioning, looking for someone to work with." Jill, intrigued, asks, "Oh yeah, what sort of act?" The little girl responds, "Variety, limitless variety. All we need is a host. Take a look." The little girl then gives Jill a whole bunch of tarot cards. Jill looks at them and they're all the death card. Jill gives the cards back and says, "Cute, but weird. Are you a little cult kid? Do your folks sell flowers over at major airports? Look, you can keep these cards, I'm not interested." The little girl responds, "You've already accepted them, Jill. Don't be afraid. The death card stands for change and rebirth. It's a good omen. What dies is just the part of you you don't need anymore." In the crowd of the Cabaret Club, Lucifer and Mazikeen are there. Lucifer somehow senses the card's presence in this building. Lucifer tells Mazikeen, We can't move until all the cards are together in one place. They've been window shopping, and now I think they've decided to buy." Back in the bathroom of the cabaret club, the little girl, she holds the tarot cards in her hands, and then she flicks them at Jill, and then the cards seemingly attack Jill, and they get absorbed into her body, and all of a sudden, Jill's body is tattooed with the spirits of all the cards. And the little girl's spirit, she then seemingly steps into Jill's body, and she says, "Comfortable, Jill? Then make room for me. The Morningstar is close at hand. It's time for the high-stakes game." Lucifer, Issue 3, a 6-card spread, Part 3 of 3. Jill joins Hugo on stage for their performance. In the crowd, we see Lucifer and Mazikeen are there, as well as Carl and the rest of the Nazis, too. As Hugo and Jill begin their act, Hugo is disappointed in Jill's initial performance. She's not doing her motions smooth enough. He whispers to her, "Are you made of wood? Give me some commitment, you stupid bitch." All of a sudden, the magical tarot cards that are now within Jill's body start manifesting power outwards. Jill, all of a sudden, shoots fire from her hands. Fire in the form of a flying bird. The people watching the crowd are impressed. While the show is going on, Carl makes an excuse saying he needs to pee so that he can leave the Nazis' table. Carl then runs outside the club to a payphone, and he phones an ambulance. He tells them where JS is, in a back alley. The operator is not sure exactly what location Carl is talking about. Carl, frustrated, says, "Look, man, it's your job. There's a man lying on the ground. He won't be hard to find." After further conversation, Carl, frustrated, says, "For Christ's sake, I'll take you there myself, you incompetent bastards." So Carl, he's gonna wait somewhere for the ambulance to arrive so that he can take the paramedics to JS. Back inside the cabaret club, Jill Presto is going insane with all the magic. The stage is just a colorful LSD explosion of all sorts of craziness. Jill's partner Hugo becomes concerned. He says, "Stop it. Whatever you're doing, stop it." Jill, angry, whispers back, "What's the matter, Hugo? Don't you like magic?" Lucifer and Mazikeen at the back of the room are preparing to act. Mazikeen draws her knife. Lucifer tells her, "Not yet. Let her spend more of her power. When she's down to small change, then we'll move." Jill continues with the magic, and then she starts sensing things of those in the crowd. She can look into their minds. She can see their lives, their destinies, the past straight like a wire, the future branching into a million filaments. She can see the world through 100 stained glass windows. Within the crowd, she senses the evil of the Nazis in attendance. She sees what they did to her friend, JS. She then says aloud, "You bastards! You rotten, cowardly scumbags! How could you? How could you do that? Well, let's see how you like it." Jill becomes a lightning rod, the potential futures moving through her into the present. She finds their pain. She finds their deaths. She looks into the mind of one of the Nazis and senses that 3 years from now, there's a strong possibility that he'll crash his car, and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so he died. Well, Jill makes it so that what might be in the future becomes what is. Now, all of a sudden, that one Nazi dies, his body suffering that fatal car crash right here in the cabaret club. Another Nazi would get his throat slit in the future. Jill makes that happen now too. And then the Nazis' leader there, Gunther, he will suffer a stroke when he is 60. Well, Jill makes that stroke hit him now. Gunther, suffering the stroke, collapses down to the ground. Lucifer then, at the back of the room, yells out, "Enough! Reveal yourselves. I didn't come here to watch a puppet show." The tarot cards seemingly exit Jill's body and begin flying throughout the room. Meanwhile, outside on the street, Carl is by JS, trying to make sure he lives. Carl's boss, Milios, finds Carl and JS. Milios is disappointed in Carl. He grabs him and pins him against the wall. Milios tells Carl, "How could you miss so much? How could you fail to see even yourself? It wasn't his love for you that made you hate him. It was the fact that you were aroused by him." I've given my life to your species, kept every word you wrote. I spent 10,000 years building a card house, and the Dark Angel knocked it down with one sweep of his hand. Melios then throws Carl to the street and says, "It's irrelevant now. I don't have any responsibility for you. I don't need to warn you where your need for forgiveness will bring you. Atonement is at best a journey of uncertain length to an unknown destination, but so is revenge, of course. We both embrace our own destruction. Goodbye, Carl." Melios then sprouts wings on his body and takes off. And then the paramedics soon arrive moments later. Back inside the cabaret club, the cards are flying around in a whirlwind storm. Mazikeen is holding the knife, and Lucifer, he is watching patiently. He tells Mazikeen, "That one, now!" Mazikeen chucks the knife, and it pins the Lightbringer card to the wall. Jill Presto then passes out. The cards then seemingly calm down, and the little girl spirit appears in the flesh once again. The little girl speaks to Lucifer and says, "Give us our brother back, or you'll twist on the axle tree of heaven like a game cock on a gibbet." Lucifer responds, "You forget yourself. I am considering whether or not to pardon you. In the meantime, I require a divination. You will oblige me." The girl spirit, wanting to get the Lightbringer card back, will indeed oblige Lucifer's demands. The little girl, she pulls out the mountain card and says, "This crosses him. You must ascend, and yet you have no wings. You will search for them through windowless rooms." She then pulls out the innocence card and says, "This raises him, but don't be misled. I am your enemy, Morningstar, now and always. The child that lights the way for you is someone quite different, and you'll have to return the favor." She pulls out the Fool card and says, "This casts him down. Your creator has given you a poisoned chalice. A letter of passage will open for you, but only once, and when it closes behind you, it will close forever. It seems that heaven can dispense with your services now." She pulls out the Wheel and says, "This is where he begins treading. The same ground again, for the wheel has come full circle, a revolution." She then pulls out the Tower card and says, "And this, Lucifer, this is where he ends." Lucifer responds, "Skip the melodrama and go straight to the point." The girl continues, "Give us your pardon, Morningstar, and our injured brother." Lucifer allows the little girl to retrieve the Lightbringer card. He then says, "Take him, and make sure that you play your games far away from me." Lucifer then heads out with Mazikeen. He tells her to keep the knife handy. Jill Presto then wakes up. The Innocence card offers Jill a deal. She tells her, "It's time for you to decide, Jill, yes or no. We can only stay if you accept us of your own free will. It's a bargain, a contract. You've seen the smallest glimpse of what we can give you. Success and fame will come to you without your needing to try. Oh, and you'll live forever, if that's any incentive. Say yes, daughter of Eve. Let us live in you." Jill, she then seems to accept the power. Later on, in the hospital, Jayesh's parents arrive to check in on him, as well does Carl. Jayesh's mother says to Carl, "Our son would be dead already if you had not found him. Bless you for that." Carl feels guilty because Jayesh wouldn't have been in this position if not for him. Later on in the hospital, Jill visits Jayesh, and she tells him what she did to the people that hurt him. As Jill leaves the hospital and walks down the street, we see the Innocence card walks beside her, signifying that Jill did indeed accept the card's power. And back in Los Angeles, above the Lux Bar, Lucifer talks with Mazikeen, and he discusses what he learned about the letter of passage from the tarot card reading. Lucifer, also seemingly talking to God, says, "A one-way ticket, a door that opens only from this side. I don't know if I'm more offended by the deceit or by the insult to my intelligence. I thought I'd proved my point, but evidently you're very slow on the uptake. You've got no one to blame for this but yourself. Mazikeen, give me the knife." Lucifer, with the knife, then seems to cut through the letter of passage. And Lucifer, he then creates a doorway into the void outside of creation. Now, heaven made it so that the doorway would collapse when Lucifer stepped inside. But Lucifer did some sort of ritual, and with the knife, he inscribed God's name into the passageway door. And apparently by doing this, they cannot shut the passageway door unless God wants to unmake the rest of creation. The forces of heaven will not be happy when they learn what Lucifer has done. Mazikeen asks, in her slurred, garbled speech, "Will they come?" And Lucifer answers, "Of course they'll come. I'm depending on it. It would hardly be an apocalypse without angels and trumpets." We have one final issue now in this first volume, with Lucifer issue 4, Born with the Dead. A little girl named Mona Doyle died. Mona was killed in a hit-and-run, and many cars ran over her body. Mona's best friend was a girl named Elaine Belloc. Elaine seems to have some sort of history with supernatural beings, as when the ghost of Mona shows up in her bedroom, Elaine does not seem that surprised. Elaine asks her dead friend's spirit, "Hello, Mona. What took you so long?" Mona, getting used to being a dead spirit, answers, "Well, at first it was hard to think. 7 or 8 cars ran over me before they could stop, and then I went home, but no one could see me, so I came to you because you were sort of shining, and I could see you from a long way away. Sorry I'm leaving blood on your bed." Elaine replies, "No, you're not. You're not really bleeding. And by the way, you don't even need to look like that either. You just look like that because that's what you're expecting to look like because of how you died. But you can look like anything you want. You can look like Britney Spears if you want to." "Mona, why'd you go and walk under that car?" Mona replies, "You think I wanted to be dead? I didn't, Elaine. I was murdered, if you must know. Some man came up behind me and threw me over the overpass, right into the traffic." Mona then explains how she's so scared, and Elaine, she becomes committed to solving her friend's murder. Elaine sits on the floor and pulls out a flashlight, and she does a little ritual, and she summons the ghosts of her grandmothers. They appear before her as 3 floating heads. Apparently one of her grandmothers, Grandma Furnace, used to be a witch. Elaine asks how she can find out the name of the killer of her best friend. One of the witches answers, "You can do a summoning. A lesser demon will tell you the killer's name." Elaine replies, "But we don't know how to summon a demon, Grandma. Not even a lesser one." The grandmother answers, "You spill blood, my poppet, and then drink it, and dance naked, and call his name. If he's minded to come, he won't be holding off for spells or candles." So Elaine, following her grandmother's advice, tries to do this ritual. She went to the kitchen and spilled some blood from some meat that was down there. She drank some of it, and then she began to do a stupid kind of disco dance. She kept her underwear on, though, because she didn't want the demon to see her naked. She did her ritual, and then she started asking for Lucifer to answer her cries for help, hoping Lucifer could tell her the name of her friend's killer. But Lucifer didn't answer the call. Elaine, getting frustrated, yelled, "Hello, Satan! Hello, Lucifer! Are you receiving me?" Afterwards, when Lucifer doesn't show up, she asks her grandmothers what the deal is. The grandmothers answer, "You're too young, Poppet. Why should a demon hail himself from the hobs of hell to answer a spotless virgin who couldn't give her soul away if she tried? There's no profit in it." Well, the next morning, Elaine decided to try and investigate. She skipped school, and her and Mona went to the scene of the crime where Mona died. They were at some sort of highway overpass where Mona got pushed. Elaine, using her powers, somehow is able to look back into the past. Elaine is able to see some visions of what happened, but it is foggy. She sees Mona in the past being pushed by the shadow of a large man, but Elaine, she's unable to see the face of the man that did it. But she kept following the shadow and kept looking backwards, further away in time. She eventually determines that whoever pushed Mona was a man and was following her for quite some time. Elaine is able to track where the man was walking from, and apparently the man followed Mona all the way from the school that Mona attended, a school called Roundhay Comprehensive. Once in the school, Elaine investigates while the spirit of Mona still follows and talks with her. Eventually, the headmaster of the school sees Elaine and recognizes that Elaine is not in the proper uniform, as Elaine doesn't attend this particular school. The headmaster confronts Elaine, asking, "Hey, that isn't a round hay uniform. Who are you?" Elaine answers, I'm sorry, sir. I came to tell my friend something. She's in Mona Doyle's class?" The headmaster asks, "Mona Doyle's class? And who would that be?" Mona whispers, "Say Diane Hornby." Elaine replies, Diane Hornby?" The headmaster grabs onto Elaine and starts dragging her by the arm. He says, "All right then, we'll just go and ask Diane if she knows you, shall we?" As Elaine is being dragged, she took one quick look inside the headmaster's mind to see what he was thinking about. And with that one quick look in his mind, Elaine finally sees that this headmaster is Mona's killer. He pushed her off of that overpass and caused her to get run over by various cars. In the headmaster's vision, she also sees some sort of briefcase, which for some reason is on the headmaster's mind. Eventually, the headmaster phones Elaine's parents, and Elaine gets in a little bit of trouble for sneaking into this school. But they cut Elaine some slack as her best friend just died, and that can be hard for a young person to process. As the headmaster is talking to Elaine's father, we can see that the headmaster is starting to get worried that perhaps Elaine knows that he was the one that killed her friend. He is worried that perhaps Mona shared secrets with Elaine and knows what he was up to. That night at 1 a.m., once Elaine's parents were fast asleep, Elaine snuck out. She was going to sneak over to the headmaster's house and see if she could find some proof that he killed her friend. When Elaine looked into the headmaster's mind, he saw him pushing Mona, but she also saw that the headmaster was thinking about some sort of suitcase that he keeps in his garage, almost as if Mona reminded him of it. So Elaine wants to get a look inside this supposed suitcase and see if maybe the proof she needs would be in there. Elaine and Mona arrive at the headmaster's house. They sneak into the garage. Then Elaine looks and eventually finds the suitcase. The suitcase is filled with all sorts of drugs. Elaine is not sure what they are, but Mona says, "They're drugs, like my dad sells. That one's speed, and that little sachet there is ketamine, and the bottles and stuff are called poppers." Elaine asks, "What's the headmaster doing with them? Do you think he was buying them from your dad? Could he have killed you because your dad owed him money or something?" Mona replies, "Maybe, but there's a lot there. Most people would just buy 1 or 2 hits at a time." Well, either way, Elaine feels she has enough to take to the cops. Unfortunately, though, the headmaster then enters the garage and sees Elaine. The headmaster attacks Elaine and starts choking her. Elaine passes out, and when she wakes up, she is tied to a chair in the headmaster's kitchen. Once Elaine wakes up, the headmaster asks her, "So, who else knows?" Elaine, lying, trying to think of some way to buy her time, says, "Mona kept a diary." The headmaster responds, "Shit, I knew it. Where did he find it? Where is it now?" Elaine answers, at the school, room B12. It's behind the radiator." The headmaster prepares to head out to get this diary. He tells Elaine, "We'll take up this conversation when I get back. If you're lying, you'll have the occasion to be very sorry." Elaine questions, "But you're going to kill me anyway." The headmaster responds, "True, but I've got a great deal of discretion about how long it takes." So the headmaster takes off, and Elaine has a few minutes to figure out her next move. Elaine and Mona talk. Mona, worried, says, "He's gonna kill you too. Call your grandmas, Elaine. They can do magic on him." Elaine replies, "No, they can't. They're just ghosts. They can't do anything except talk." "So let's you and I talk, Mona, the way we used to. Let's share secrets. Tell me about your dad." Time passes. Eventually, the headmaster returns back home. Elaine is still tied to the chair. The headmaster is upset because the diary wasn't there. Elaine responds, someone must have moved it. But it was there. The headmaster to this says, perhaps, or perhaps you invented the diary so I'd let you live a little longer. In which case, I hope you got the most you could out of the last 20 minutes. The headmaster has a bottle of alcohol on the table, and he takes a swig of it. Elaine responds, I did. The headmaster then looks on the ground and sees various packets of the drugs that he kept in his garage. The headmaster then deduces that Elaine somehow spiked his drink. He then grabs Elaine and yells, what have you done to me? What did you do? Elaine explains that she bit and opened the ketamine packets and dribbled them into his glass. She then says, Mr. Waddington, I think you're going to die. The headmaster would soon be suffering from ketamine poisoning. The headmaster attempted to phone an ambulance. The thing is, though, with ketamine poisoning, there's no point in calling a doctor. You've got to make yourself throw up real quick before your lungs stop working. The headmaster, he managed to go to the phone and dial 911, and he began saying the words ambulance, ambulance, ambulance over and over again. But then he slowly began to start to die. Now, Elaine, when she was biting the packets of ketamine, she must have swallowed some of it herself. Not enough to die, but a little bit for each sachet she chewed open. So she somehow got sucked into the headmaster's death. Elaine was in some strange white world with various vines coming from every which way. And inside this world, Lucifer was there. Elaine asked, where are we? Lucifer answered, you're in his mind. The teacher's the man you're in the process of murdering. Elaine then asks, You're him, the devil. I summoned the devil. Lucifer responds, don't flatter yourself, child. I'm not here because you called me. But I did hear your voice and I wanted to see for myself. Someone has been working for a very long time. Chance alone couldn't account for you. Elaine asks, will he die soon? The headmaster, I mean? Lucifer responds, he should be dead now. I'm the one who's holding him back from that merciful release. Elaine asks, why? Lucifer answers, because as things stand, he'll take you with him. A deck of cards I met recently suggested that I should keep you alive. Now, take what you want and be quick about it. I have other engagements. So Elaine quickly searched through the headmaster's mind, and she found the truth. So apparently the headmaster was a drug dealer, and he was selling drugs to Mona's dad. He even went around to Mona's flat a few years back to deliver some of the drugs, and he noticed Mona was there. And then a few years later, when Mona finally started at the same school as the headmaster, he recognized Mona, and he thought that Mona recognized him. So that's why he killed her, to stop her from telling everyone else that he was the one selling drugs. And the crazy thing is, Mona didn't even remember him at all, and the headmaster had nothing to be afraid of. So Elaine, she finally got the motive for why the headmaster killed her friend. Lucifer asks, satisfied? Elaine answers, no. Lucifer responds, pity, it makes no difference to the price. Well, I'm off. I'm going into the realms of pain, and you to your mortal body. But don't worry, I always call in what's owed to me. So Lucifer disappears and Elaine wakes up. When Elaine finally awakens, the paramedics have arrived. In the aftermath, a lot of people asked Elaine questions, but they seemed to believe her when she said she didn't remember anything. The ghost of Elaine's grandmothers, they wanted to hear all the details though, and they were so proud of her. And Mona, she still stayed Elaine's best friend, and she's going to stay with Elaine as long as she can. Elaine then thinks to herself, the funniest thing of all this is that I tried so hard to do magic and I couldn't even call the smallest demon. And then I ended up talking to the real devil himself. I'm getting lots of offers now. And with that storyline over, we now end Volume 1 of Lucifer.
All right, so that was Lucifer Volume 1. Let me give my thoughts on the various story arcs within here. First, I'll talk about the artwork. I thought all the artwork was pretty good, but I especially liked the artwork in the 6-card spread story arc. I thought it was the cleanest, and I enjoyed that one the most. Now, coming out of Sandman, which is one of the greatest comics ever, there's definitely a Herculean task for Mike Carey here to try and match the quality of Sandman. And I don't think he does, but still, I think he establishes a pretty solid status quo for Lucifer in this opening volume here. We have Lucifer operating in this bar, and various supernatural entities from heaven and hell come to him to do various tasks. And Lucifer, he's a very fun, powerful, and complex character with his own motivations, and an interesting cast of characters as well. So I think there's a lot of good stuff in these opening story arcs here that set up some story threads to be followed up upon in the future. So all that is really positive. Now, I do have some negatives, though. I found the mythology and mysticism and some of the lore here to be very hard to get into and to wrap your head around. And it was a little confusing at times, and it required so much effort to comprehend, and it was very wordy at times. And it was very weird at times. Even in the opening story arc, the Morningstar option, this whole velleity thing was freaking bizarre. And Lucifer and Rachel going up this mountain, and they're in the fourth world, and they're trying to go down to the first world. And then this creature in the sky, who's just like I don't know how to describe it, like a floating cloud thing or something, is talking to them, and it's giving wishes or something. And it's just really hard to follow what's going on. And the 6-card spread story arc was intriguing as well, but it also had some weird things too that were hard to wrap your head around, the lore of what everything is. Even this whole letter of passage thing is not really fully explained within the text in this opening volume here. So yeah, I found that a little bit kind of annoying going through the story there. But putting all that aside, and if you put in the work to understand it, I think it is pretty compelling, and I'm very intrigued to see where we go from here. So I'm going to give this opening volume here a 7.5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll be back in the future with Lucifer Volume 2.